What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bailey Agbra, and joined with me are my two co-hosts. We got Serious Angler team in the house tonight. We got Adam Deacon, Andrew Full joining us, and we have Mr. Joe Labarbera joining us once again. He's back so soon.
Yes.
What's going on, boys?
I'll go
ahead.
Life
Everyone,
is good, man. I got
good.
to fish with Andrew on Saturday.
Everyone at once. Encore.
And good.
Dude, I got to fish with the homie on Saturday. Okay, so I fished with him 3 weeks ago, and I was like, dang, Andrew's super knowledgeable, but he didn't pick up a stick that much, and the bite wasn't as good because we were getting over all those rains. Dude, all right, so I'm gonna make him feel bad because he naturally feels bad about this, and he shouldn't.
Andrew roast.
Yes.
It's not a roast though. It's not a roast. He literally, there was a time where my buddy Justin and I, who just got into this style of fishing that Andrew's been doing for quite a while. We were fly fishermen, and I don't even think I want to call myself that anymore. But Andrew picks up the rod and makes one cast through right where we were drifting. Yoink, biggin, and he's just and he was standing right next to my buddy Justin, and Justin just looks at him like, you son of a he's just stout, dude. And it's
some guide you are, Andy.
Well, we went on this tour of 4 creeks, one of which tore my waders to all hell, you butthead.
Did it?
That mud fest you took us to.
Hey, you wanted to see everything, so
I do, yeah.
Showed you it all.
Yeah, but we were dude, pick up a rod, fish more with us this time. Last time you just showed us around and were a tour guide, and you answered all the questions we needed to know to really cure our learning curve. But this time I'm a visual learner anyway. I want to learn from watching you slay. And yeah, he slayed all right. He made us look kind of bad at one point. It was nuts. It was, there's no way to oversell how good he is. It was awesome.
thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're going to have to come for a ride in the Phoenix one day so I can hand your ass back to you sometime. But Jesus, we're gonna go somewhere that you hate. We're gonna fish 80 feet of water, something that you're not a huge fan of or something. I don't know, because I'm gonna need redemption of some kind.
I think I can say that there's not a body of water I think that Andy hates.
Well, I'm gonna keep as far away from the docks as possible.
I don't fish docks.
Okay, so there it is. We're a docks only.
Go to a dock lake when it's blowing 20 and only fish the style of docks that's blowing on.
Yep.
And he will get so frustrated so fast.
Awesome.
I'll just sit down and eat a snack. Have at it, buddy.
Yeah.
It's just done.
I'll be get back up, dude, so I can talk more smack.
All right, so really fast, you said it, but I didn't want to cut you off. Andy and I had this discussion the other day, and I have a feeling I'm in the wrong here. So we were talking about the right spelling of homie. Do you spell homie with an I-E or a Y?
I-E?
Okay, I'm probably in the wrong here.
I texted him. I was like, are you slanging homie at me right now? Straight up slang.
Bailey.
Yeah. I've spelled homie with a Y my entire life, and Andy's the first person that ever told me I was wrong.
Well,
and I was like, no, that's gotta be right. It's the same thing.
At least, I wasn't cool enough to say homie till I was 25.
I never thought of it as that. Yeah, so people already commented homie with an IE, so yeah. I am wrong.
I was like, is this slang?
Guess the ethnicity. Homie, wow. Who's gonna not get it? Bailey.
I blame my parents. My parents spelled it with a Y. I blame my parents.
Oh, so it's a Rochester thing. Got
it. It must be Rochester versus Buffalo. Joe's in our stream and commenting on wrong.
Oh yeah, dude.
Joe, just tell me I'm wrong.
He's
Super
YouTubing
fan
it.
number one. Like,
Oh my god.
We'll just put it up there.
yeah, there you go.
Just so everyone's clear.
Yeah.
Joe
Yeah,
gets
we have
two.
more.
Joe gets 2 votes. Joe
All right.
gets 2 votes.
Well, I've accepted that I am wrong here. Okay. But so
man.
fun show tonight we got planned because we're gonna talk a little late fall fishing, but we're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff going down because there's some cool stuff going on in the fishing industry. This week's obviously Thanksgiving week, so I think a lot of people have an extreme case of the Mondays today, but it's not as bad because we only have like a 3 or 4 day week for some. So it's a nice relaxing night. We're gonna kick back. We're gonna talk fishing with the boys, and it
0
should be.
days a week.
You say 0 a week?
I said I have no weekends. It's nice. Every day's a weekend for me.
Look at you, Andy.
Yeah.
You're just taking people out fishing and catching all the fish.
No, I think Joe can attest to this, though. I did set my rod down quite a bit.
Oh yeah, and as soon as he picked it up,
Yeah.
Put it down for half a second just to jack.
No, I think at one point I had it down for almost 2 hours.
I don't. Well, maybe what in the morning?
No, when we were at Seaway after I stuck that one, I just set it down to try to get you and Justin a fish, or me and you
Well,
walked up
what
the creek.
killed me is when we went to the second creek. Like, I don't know if you don't want me to say which one it was, but like you walked away and I had a ton of drifts through that area. You like flip back in and you're like drifting, yoink, biggest one that we caught at the creek in that hour and a half. I was like,
And I was like, I'm done. I just set the rod down.
Yeah.
Well, Deacon, what are things like out in Colorado? I know here it's getting frigid. We have low 40s water temps in most of our inland lakes, but what are things out there in the West?
Dude, man, it's been pretty mild to be honest with you. We had snow 3 or 4 days ago, maybe a little sooner than that. And it was just a dusting, and it's still like 50s during the day and sunny, some 60s, like, and then it's getting cold at night. You know, I mean, we're frosting every night in the 20s, but like, or like, I guess 30s probably, but like it's still feels abnormally warm. And man, I haven't been on the water because, well, actually that's not true. I was on Lake Havasu and Mojave, but we blew, so my team partner's boat, we blew his motor, so that was super cool. My boat's sold. So I went deer hunting this last weekend, and then before that I was at Mojave. But we're borrowing a boat, or if I get a boat in the next week, which there's one that may actually happen, but for the team championship in Alabama. So that's what I'm focused on here. We leave December 3rd, I think, and yeah, man.
So it's a time crunch to get a boat for.
Yeah, if it's gonna happen, like there's like 2 that I've considered, and one of them would be en route, and I sent the guy an offer yesterday. So like,
you would pick up your new boat on your way to the team championship.
that's right, man. I mean, like,
Wow.
like dude, like
totally risky.
I mean, yes, like I'm not gonna be 100% set up how I want it to be set up, but like, dude, I don't know. Like, boat's a boat. I can drive it. It'll be all right.
That does that make you nervous at all going into an event with a boat that you don't know? I mean, that's like a complete gear overhaul from like the truck to the boat and everything.
I mean, so here's the thing. I don't know. At some point, the more you fish tournaments, like, I don't understand it. Like, boats are not cars. They're just not reliable. Like even brand new ones. Like we have a running group of friends that like brand new boats. Like, oh man, like crap, like got to borrow a boat for some reason because some little thing broke, right? Well, like I feel like if you fish enough tournaments, you are going to use additional boats. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, you're going to end up making a final day. Oh, not Joe, apparently. Joe just never is.
Joe just falls in the water, so his problems happen before he gets in the boat.
I see. So then the boat doesn't have issues.
The bad juju's gone.
I don't agree, but that doesn't mean I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't know.
Have you ever had a situation where you borrowed a boat and then problems happen?
No.
Corey Johnston.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably like the worst case scenario, where I'd feel the worst about like not having it be your boat and something going wrong.
And it may be a little bit different too out here because our tournaments are so far away. But like, dude, there is like a group of guys, the guys that like are competitive and going and fishing Havasu and then fishing all the stuff east as well. Like, dude, they're leaving boats at places all the time. So they've got like a running like, okay, hey, like I'm gonna run your boat here. You just drive it home when you're done with it. Like, because there's that much travel time. It's not like it's a 3-hour drive or a 5-hour drive. It's like for instance, okay, one of our buddies this last weekend went and fished the Havasu tournament. Well, he qualified for the Johnny Morris deal, right? He flew in, he left his boat. He went and fished the Toyota Series Championship, left his boat there in Missouri, flew back here, fished the team tournament on Havasu, flew out of Arizona back to go grab his boat. So he like that situation happens a lot because we're not close to anything. The guys that are competitive, they're going to go to other places.
Well, like that's what Boomer does too. His boat's at Burgess or it's all over.
Sure. That makes sense.
Well, before we get into some late fall fishing, I'm assuming you guys all seen it, but for the folks that may have not seen it that are tuning into this thing, the winner of the Bass Pro Shops U.S. Open was Tucker Smith and Logan Parks, which Tucker Smith almost just won the classic bracket for college fishing. And I think he was like Academy's like star child for the classic, like leading the guys out and everything. The kid, those two won $1 million, a Tundra and a Nitro each. Talk about having a hell of a year. I mean, I want to go around the table here. Like, what do you think a 20 and 21-year-old are going to do with $500,000?
Strip club.
Well,
Straight to the club.
I guess it's a not so serious episode tonight.
I'm glad somebody said it first. I mean, I don't know. I was 21. I would have made bad choices. No, I hope, honestly, I hope they, I mean, I know what I would do now as a 35-year-old is much different than what I would have done as a 21-year-old.
Right.
My priorities and my like fiscal and financial responsibilities are just prioritized way differently. Yeah, I mean, dude, if I could pay off half this house, own my truck and boat, like, dude, I would have dumped a bunch into Bitcoin or something now, you know, but like, you know, Shiba, like, but I don't know. I hope that they, but that,
you guys see that comment?
Oh, yeah.
No one's going to say anything. So our buddy Andrew Hayes from Tackle Talk podcast said they 100% went to Johnny Morris and said, "Yeah, we're going to need this in ones."
My guy.
That's baller. Andy, you're on mute. You dummy.
I want 5 suitcases full of ones each, so 10 total. Let's party.
I hope they build themselves. Have you guys ever seen The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg?
Mm-hmm.
I hope they build themselves a fortress of effing solitude, you know? Like, you remember when he goes to get the money from Roseanne's husband? What's that actor's name? The big guy.
I know what you're talking about.
And he talks about it. He's like, dude, every idiot knows what to do if you're $2.5 million up. You get, you know, and he goes through all, and some of it's really inappropriate for me to say on your show, but he says what he should buy. And he's like, and that's your fortress of effing solitude. So that for the rest of your life, you're in a position to tell everyone to go away, basically. Again, rephrasing due to inappropriateness, but like, it's a great motto for life. And them being that far ahead. John Goodman. Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Ryan. Like John states life facts. And I hope like maybe I should DM those two guys and be like, just watch this. Take the advice. Like, it's a great 4-minute YouTube clip. I watch it like maybe like twice or 3 times a year. Like, oh yeah, they need to take that advice.
Do you think this is like the best start to a career that any I guess you can't really call them pros yet. Well, I guess you can because the amount of winnings they have. But like for two people or someone trying to start a career in professional bass fishing, is this the best start that anyone's ever had, at least money wise?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got to think about it. They got a truck, a boat, and 500 grand cash, right? And then they win that. How many sponsors are going to be like, you guys won the U.S. Open, you can't fish it again, or whatever the Johnny Morris deal was? We're going to give you more money because now you're the face of the world of Johnny Morris for winning this tournament for the next year or two.
I didn't even think about that. They can't fish it next year.
Nope.
Oh no,
no, they're done.
Yeah. And if it's going to happen next year,
their
first
pro
of all,
career.
I'm curious to see if it's going to happen next year. I mean, I'm hoping it does, but I haven't heard anything. And I asked some people that were there they're like, they say they're going to do it next year.
Come on.
It's Johnny Morris. He's got endless amounts of money. It will happen. It'll be even bigger. I bet you they're just in the planning stages. Because last year it didn't get announced until like April, May, I feel like. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, dead on the Tackle Talk podcast. They the payout on that thing was crazy. It was deep too. It was not just $1 million take all. Like there was a deep payout. And in regards to Bailey, what you're saying as far as like a springboard, man, I mean, you can't beat it as far as like giving yourself a solid runway. Like you've got 5 years, make it happen. Like 5 years and a truck and a boat and everything to go. The difference is, I will say this, and I don't know, like just following Tucker Smith and it's Tucker and then Logan Parks, right? So like, dude, I mean, those guys have already had such a storied career in high school. I mean, like those guys already have some, I'm assuming, especially the way that I've seen how like Tucker's represented himself, seems like some sponsorship deals that are already lined up and in place. Academy, like, I mean, some big names. So like, I think they already kind of had things rocking and rolling to really make a shot at this. And this definitely gives you a real locked in chance.
Yeah. I totally forgot about the high school aspect too. I mean, they already have a brand established, and this is only gonna like put some steroids on it and send it to the moon. I feel like if they do it right, if they play their cards right with the money that they just come into, is one, say goodbye to any worry about student loans. Two, they're 20 and 21 years old, so they're probably still living with their parents. So that gives them cost aside. So that gives them, say they don't have any of their student loans paid off. They don't have a scholarship from Auburn to fish. Like, say maybe at max, right, is $100 grand on student loans. You still have $400 grand that you can put forth to.
I think you're looking at this all wrong, Bailey.
All right, hit me.
So, like, here's how I look at it: is these boys will not have to work for the next 5 years. Just pay your student loans off, whatever the minimum is, and create content like a crazy person, because you can. And now they get to choose. Like, come on. Like, they're basically going to get to choose what brands they want to work for. And they may have to take less money to work for the brands they want to work for, but that gives them 5 solid years to qualify and only create content. Someone will pay them the income, or collectively their sponsors will pay them the income that they need to continue it after 5 years. These guys are never going to work a day in their lives outside the fishing industry ever again. Plain and simple. Dude, if I had $500,000 right now, dude, if I had $100 grand right now, I'd never work a day again. I guarantee it. Because you can put yourself in a position to create. And that's what gets
100 grand, you get 2 years.
What's up?
100 grand, you get 2 years if you make a 50 grand salary.
But I'm saying you should be able to create with the business they already have established and their past. They'll have no trouble creating income from the content they'll create with their sponsors. They're not going to have to ever work again. Like, they're so far ahead. They're not going to a real job like me or like Andrew went to the bank. Like, it ain't happening. Like, because they will be content creators no matter what forever. If that's
what they want to do, I mean, right? Like we're assuming that these guys are trying to go pro and do that, but like, man, like there's some people out there that there's some successful anglers that stepped away to go make way more money than they ever could in the fishing industry.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you're right. I don't understand what's wrong with them, but
Here's what I think: if they're smart, and maybe I could still be wrong here, so feel free to let me know if I'm wrong or if you think I'm wrong. Like, I think the smartest thing for them to do, if you're thinking long term, is because I think Tucker was a freshman in college this year. I think Logan.
Yeah, they got
just graduated.
A lot of time.
Did Logan graduate?
Yeah. Oh no, dude, they're both the same age, I think.
I think one's 21, the other one's 20.
Yeah, they're both.
How are they freshmen then?
Oh yeah.
But so what I'm thinking is, one, that money right there is you can pay off school without any interest. I think you remain in school, you get your degree, and I think you have all that money that you can there set forth, not have a worry in the back of your mind, and you can go through the opens and try to make the Elite Series if that's what they're trying to do. But that way, if you screw up, you still have money that you can have left over, and you have a degree that you can fall back on.
What's a degree
anymore? The dreams.
What's a degree anymore?
Dude, there's a lot of ways I think to go through this as far as what they could do. I think if their goal is to make it to the highest level, hey, what's up, dude? To make it to the highest level, I think you can throw that money in there. I mean, but you got to also look at this too, Bailey. Like, I mean, I don't want to get way deep into the numbers here, but like you can delay student loans and still be paying your minimum and still walk away paying the same amount of interest that you would have been further down the road. I mean, there's some student loan programs that are 1.5%, 2.5%. I mean, what about looking at this the opposite way and say, okay, just throw this money in the stock market and not.
Yeah, that is bad.
But like
it is gonna suck.
Like, I mean, dude, let's say if 8% return and a S&P 500 7% return. I mean, on 50, or if it was on $1 million, it'd be 80 grand a year, 70 grand a year. You're done. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that there's a lot more that goes into that in a family and making a lot more money, but.
So what do you think? And they just completely did like what Paul's saying down here. You think they just completely ditch college and go right into the opens?
I would.
I think that's a totally valid option.
I went to college for 6 years, and I'm saying don't go to college.
I think, yeah, I think the whole education.
Unless they're really, like Deacon said before, really set on a certain path in life already, and fishing was just going to be very secondary. Like doctor, attorney, veterinarian. I don't know. Like
a profession that is a very
that requires more than a bachelor's degree.
Yeah. Dude, I'm with you. Yeah.
I think leave. I would do it. I'd leave.
So instead of go to the school of the opens if they're fishing for a career is their goal.
And just like content supplement the deals so and they'll probably still be making an income. Like, and if they decide they want to go a different direction later, go, but strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, rock and roll. I mean, and this is the whole, like, you can bring in the whole college fishing debate, and I don't know how much Auburn pays for things and all that sort of a thing, but like, man, dude, I think that it'd be interesting to follow what they'll do the next couple of years. It'll be cool to see if they drop out, if they stay in school, fish the opens while in school. We've seen that before. We've seen some college anglers be towards the end of their college, and they are able to fish all the opens and fish the college tournaments.
Do we know what talk show they're going to be on first?
Probably BTO.
But sidebar, now they're the most recognized college name possibly in college fishing history, besides like the Lees and a couple of the other guys that are in the leads and FLWs, right? Huff, yeah. Now Auburn's going to turn around and be like, all right, yeah, you're going to bring us all this publicity. We're going to waive all of your tuition. You're going to come to school for free if they're not already. No, but just hear me out. We're going to allow you to ride the Auburn boat, and we're going to throw your open fees in the mix too, because it's a big SEC school, a ton of money to go around. And all of a sudden now they have a free ride through the opens for the college because they could use it as a promotional swing that way too.
I'll be honest. I think if they're at Bethel, maybe. But I think a school like Auburn doesn't give a damn about a college angler. They care about their football team, and that's all they care about.
I think you'd be surprised with Auburn.
I think that they're starting to do like some content and a bunch of stuff that Auburn, that maybe there is some actual stuff coming, but I'm more with Bailey on this. Like from my experience, and this was again in 2018 when I graduated college, like it was a different time, but the small schools is where the money was at in college fishing, and those big schools, you are fundraising all on your own. Auburn, Texas A&M, like any of the big schools that had good teams too, they still were paying for themselves.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see a Auburn. I think they do something like social media wise to congratulate him, but like I don't see them making an effort and trying to keep him at school.
Yeah.
I think if fishing is like, if they want to fish professionally, if they want to say go the elites or MLF, whichever avenue they want to go down. I think at first saying go to the degree, I think, Joe, you did make a point there. That's something I've actually said in the past few years. It's like, what does a degree mean anymore? I do think, taking your gambling and going to the opens is, I think it could be smart depending on how you do it though, because I mean, let's just put it out there. I mean, there's not many Jordan Lees in this world, especially in fishing. So like to be able to like take Tucker's timeline, and obviously we're trying to get them on the show eventually so we can really like get it from him versus us trying to put in perspective.
Speculating, yeah.
If they do. Yeah, right.
Right.
But like he's just out of high school, a freshman in college. To make that jump is not only challenging, and I think maybe fishing skills, he could probably make it in a couple years.
I'm with you.
But you got to think of it almost from a life perspective. He barely got a chance to adjust to college life already. And now he's already would leave college and going on to basically being a full-time adult and trying to fish for a living. And that's basically his career for the rest of his life. That's a big leap. I mean, especially for a kid his age. I say that he's only a couple years younger than us, but
I think it's less of a leap than it would be for somebody like me who's 35 years old, because these kids are flexible, man. Like, kids are resilient. They can sleep in their truck. I am not sleeping in my Tundra. It's not happening.
I slept in the Ford all week last week. Just on the Ford suites.
How old are you?
Kind of brutal. I'm 25, almost 26.
Dude, be 32. Like somewhere between like 29 and 32. I'm telling you, dude.
Oh,
it changes. I'll sleep in the truck for one night. That is it.
Yeah, one night makes it easy. So Bailey, I'm with Joe on this as far as the flexibility. Here's but more of my thought process. Okay, like especially like we talk about the 10 percenters, or Kurt Dove and I last week had a great conversation on the 10 percenters. The Brandon Poliniks, the Justin Lucases, like those guys. Like, okay, I would argue that these guys' track record is very close to that. I mean, we're talking those high school nationals are big boat tournaments, and to win 3 of them, like that's crazy, man. And to almost make it in the college bracket in your first year doing it, almost go to the, like, I'm just saying, like there's a skill level there that is definitely there. And I mean, they've been groomed. Like, I mean, dude, Tucker's like, you see posts of fishing with all kinds of pros around Alabama, right? I mean, like, and there's been a process through this whole thing, which is awesome. And like, I just don't think that like they're already fishing enough tournaments through high school and college. They get it. That I think jumping to fishing the opens, yes, there's some more tournament fishing and more adulting going into that, but like, I mean, they know what it's like fishing tournaments, is what I'm saying, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. I wasn't saying it as like they couldn't adjust to that style. I mean more like just as a lifestyle, like outside of fishing, being able to make that change. Because that's not some small change for a kid their age.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at like their personal demographics. Are they living at home still? Are they living in an apartment off campus? Like, what kind of living conditions are they in currently? And then you can maybe adjust and see how they would adapt. If they're living at home and like say their parents live in Auburn, Alabama, and they're living at home, that would be a huge difference for them to fish the opens. But if they're at college living the dorm life or on an apartment and they're by themselves and self-sustaining, it wouldn't be that much of a difference. You're just driving and learning how to make hotel accommodations or sleeping in the Ford suites or Tundra suites. So
yeah, I mean, I think
let's be real honest. These guys each have $500,000
They ain't gonna be
Their
sleeping in my
girlfriend
truck.
is gonna make those reservations from now
Yeah.
on. And if they don't have a girlfriend,
They got 5.
there's a line.
There's a line.
You know, just saying.
That's funny.
Here's where the
Call
suitcase
me,
of
boys.
ones comes into play again.
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
That's
I think for both of them, like, especially like a Tucker Smith, the resume you already have in support of like what Deacon's been saying, like the resume he already has at his stage to then like say if he went and maybe went to the Opens and made it in the first year or two, and then who knows what he could do at the next level, you could almost make an argument for the greatest start by an angler ever.
star, man. I mean, like look at like a Polinick who was very young, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, what, 19 fishing stuff, and like the difference is there was no money involved, right? Now you have a runway. Which is
Yeah,
crazy.
and then, but I will also say, because there is an asterisk there in that a lot of the legends nowadays didn't have the same opportunities that a Tucker Smith and a Logan Parks had. Like, there was no high school fishing. There was no college fishing. It was basically, if you chose to go fishing, you had to go right to the pros, and there was no other avenue to make the, like, if it was, we would not know who Tucker Smith and Logan Parks were if it weren't for high school fishing and college fishing. So it's hard to make that comparison, I guess. I think me saying that the greatest start in history needs to come with that asterisk of there wasn't that, 10, 15 years ago. But I'm also going to ask you this, Joe, being that you fished the Opens for a few years. It was only your first year?
You're a BFL guy
your
before
third.
that, right?
Yeah,
Swear.
those trophies are.
See those up there,
somewhere
baby? BFL, son. Let's go.
Yeah.
I like it, Joe.
So, okay, with $500,000, say they have no debt right now.
Mhm.
They have this. Take 1 year of Opens expenses in a general standpoint. How many years with what they just made? Taxes aside, because that's all math that I'm not good at. But like, how many years could they fish the Opens with what they just had?
All 9 we're talking, right?
Let's say all 9. What do you think?
I mean, they see. Here's the thing. The way I'm going to say this is as many as they want, because in doing so, they should be able to build a business with that nest egg that they could fish them as long as they want. I mean, they have the runway, like Deke said. They could be. Oh man, I almost said somebody's name who I know has been fishing them for like as long as they've been around. I don't want anybody to be mad that I felt like I called them out. But like, there are people out there who's been fishing them as long as there's Opens, and like, these guys can do that. Like, they can put themselves, if their goal is to also build a self-sustaining business, as with any business, if you start with a nest egg like that, you can have whatever you want. Like, you can stretch it. Like, it just, they have to choose a business model that they like. They have to be able to balance business and competitive fishing, and they just have to decide what their goals are. But they could possibly fish for 35 years. I have no doubt. Dude, if you gave me $100,000 right now, I could fish the Opens for the rest of my career, and I don't think I'd ever have to worry about it ever again. If I had $100,000 right now.
All right,
Because
Joe, I'm coming at you.
Question.
I'm coming at you with that. Go ahead, Andy.
How much is the open entry fee for a boater? It's roughly
$1,800.
1,800. Okay, that's
So
$16,000
for all 9.
Accountant Andy is kicking back in.
So we got accountant in the background.
It's $16,000 for all
So
9.
Joe, with that statement of, okay, if you gave me $100, I could build a business to sustainably fish the Opens for the rest of my life. Why wouldn't you take a year, 2 years off of fishing, save $100,000, and then fish them the rest of your life?
Wait, why would you take a year or 2 years off?
Why wouldn't you take a year or 2 off of fishing, work your tail off, and make $100K, and then fish them the rest of your life? If you're saying like, I'm just out of curiosity by saying, you're saying, look, if you gave me $100,000,
because I'll never profit $100,000 in my life. Like all of my expenses I won't net $100,000 in 2 years. Like, dude, I make like $40,000 a year.
We'll just sponsor you on the Serious Angler podcast. We'll give you $100,000.
We got 100 lined up, and you're set. You're set to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, but you have to think like with what I've created, the lifestyle I've created, like I don't net 100. Like, but if I could, if I had 100, like in dodgeball, when what's his face walks in and offers Vince Vaughn $100,000, like in that tiny suit or the big suitcase, and he opens it up, it's just a tiny little stack of bills. Like if I had that, I don't think I would have trouble creating something self-sustaining, because like even if I took deals that maybe weren't the most lucrative, but I knew they were with businesses that would be long-term family-like environments, even if it was a big corporate business, but it had a family feel, like I feel like I could build something that was self-sustaining for as long as I wasn't finishing 225th every tournament, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it puts you in a position where you can go after non-endemics, and you can go after a lot of the things that you need to start cutting checks from YouTube, as many of us would all love to be doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If that's the business model they want to go with, they are plenty far ahead if they want to be content creators and hopeful future professionals.
Yeah, I think if they do that, they need to do it now while the iron's hot and they're fresh and they're, the talk of the industry.
Yeah, while they're the name. Yeah.
And I know we wanted to talk for a while on late fall fishing. I promise we are getting there eventually. But I wanted to, before you go, Andy, I wanted to play devil's advocate so that someone could, I don't mean it, and I think that there's a 1% chance that this could happen to them. But in sake of giving this perspective, say they go to the Opens, they're going to get sponsored because of what they've done so far in their careers. But say they just can't find any success in the Opens and they keep flunking and flunking. Like I say, it's most likely not going to happen, but I'm playing those. I feel like if they don't play the business side right, those companies will leave and they're just going to run out of money and not have a backup plan. What would you? I mean, I feel like you need to have some sort of fallback, even with that amount of money.
Oh, that's not life-changing money, in my opinion. That's not set you up for the rest of your life. As far as if you don't use it. Yeah, it's a temporary, like you need to build on that. Like if you're going to like do this full time and have a family and like I think you're going to need to build. But I agree. Like I think that it makes sense. Like right now you are the talk, right? Like you are the talk of bass fishing for this time period. Like I think it's worth pushing right now and pushing with content, with tournament fishing, with everything you can do.
Make the most wake you can now while you're in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm. While the lights are on, make hay.
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Andy, before I cut you off?
So I did a little accounting method. Let's say they pay 30% of taxes on the $500,000 in the truck and boat. So it's $150,000, right? So that's $350,000. Entry fees are $1,800 a tournament. So that means they will have 21.6 years to fish the Opens to have a shot at the Elite Series if they spent all that money on fishing the bass.
May the odds ever be in your favor.
Yes, exactly. So that they walk out gross profiting $350,000 after taxes.
I can see the salt through Joe's face right now.
They get 21 years of free fishing money.
I'm just very business oriented. So to me, like I think of what they can, even if they're in the red every year, a couple thousand, there isn't a reason that they can't produce a very similar income as what's going out. So like, I really believe that. Like, I mean, maybe these guys won't have a savings account. Maybe they're not going to drop $50,000 on the 20% down they need for their mortgage on 2 blocks from like Gunnersville, but they can build this if that's the dream. Like I believe they can build this. I really do. I mean,
Anything's
so I'll say
possible.
this too. Like, I have a house that I own. Like, I own my truck too. Like, it's paid off. Like, the only thing I'm paying off is my boat. So 100 grand to me may equal more like 250 to them right now. Like I'm still paying a mortgage, but like the 20% down on a home, like, Andrew, do you own your home? So, like, if you don't pay PMI down on your house, like, and you don't want to make that extra 80 to 200 bucks a
$200
month
Right,
payment,
stop.
Yep.
like, if you have to put 20% down. So, like, I am a little more ahead as an established 35-year-old adult than these guys. So, like, maybe what would help me is 100 is more like 2 or 250 for those guys. So, like, but they have a $500,000. Like, they were going to walk away with 350 plus a boat and truck. Like, they should be able, with the guidance of a family member or a professor or someone, should be able, like, dude, Gerald, let's be honest. Like, Steve Kennedy is not going to let these guys go hanging if they go, Steve, how have you built this business? You have like 5 sponsors. Like, help me out here.
I think at one he had
Steve
one
has
sponsor.
sponsors.
Yeah, I
Who's
know.
Steve's
Right?
sponsors.
Like,
Power Pole, Bass Cat, and maybe Lowrance.
Lawrence just sends him, like, he's straight up said that before publicly. He's like, yeah, Lawrence, like, I don't do anything for him, but they like me, so they send me graphs. But like,
That's
He is Lithium
He's a
Pros.
product sponsor.
oh,
Yeah.
he does have Lithium Pros. He does. Yeah. I see Steve at the Classic. I've seen him there on day 3s before working the
He
booth.
still uses like 15, 20-year-old Corrados.
And Kisslers.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Like OG Kisslers.
Oh, dude, so I love that dude.
I know, he's the best. But like,
Awesome.
all it would take, and Steve's the kind of guy who, like, and if these guys ever see the recording of this, like, if they can't figure out, like, if they're at all on path with like what I'm saying, like, I'm sure they can just ask Steve and he will teach them his ways. Because that's what happened to Steve. Steve got into a good winning early on in his career, and since then he's been like paving his own road, man. So I'm sure he could give them some very good guidance in business.
That's a good point, dude, that you make, Joe. As far as a big win early, like, I think I was listening to this. I think Josh Beertrand on the Anglers Happy Hour podcast was talking about, like, the names of, like, when you look, all those big names that really stuck around in this sport. Like, winning is everything, right? Like, it is such a notoriety in this game, and like, when you get to that in an early stage in your career, it really helps because it is a grind.
Like salivating when you say it. Right?
Then you look at a guy like Bill Lowen that never won a big Bassmaster event till last year.
Impressive, freaking impressive to survive that long.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like, that is awesome.
Well, that's why they called him, what, it was Cash Dollar or Dollar Bill Owen.
Dollar Bill, yeah, he's always cashing checks, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't
And,
mess up.
and that's the only other way is to be always close to a win.
Or you do what people like Kurt Dove have done. If you guys haven't watched the episode on Deacon's podcast, you need to. You got to build a business. Look at like guys like Oliver Nye. Oliver Nye, as far as I know, has never won a 5-figure turn. Oh, wait, no, he did win that Big Bass Bash, didn't he?
Who?
Ollie.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he
like
did.
Missouri.
But up to then, he never had won like a 5-figure tournament, and it had a pretty impressive career for like 7 years of making YouTube videos up till then. So like, there are ways to run a successful business. Catch up on some of Deacon's podcasts. You're this way. You're the other way on my screen.
Oh, I do that crap all the time.
This is the best, but on the Serious Angler podcast.
On my screen, but here in the recording. But like, yeah, dude, there are ways it can be done. Like,
oh yeah,
it can definitely be done.
Yeah. So I think unless anyone has any other comment, we should move into some late fall fishing, early winter fishing here. I do want to answer one thing really fast because I do think it's actually really interesting.
Yeah,
especially when it clicks. So I posted on social tonight, but I did finally eventually end up breaking my PB smallmouth yesterday with a 6 pounds, 10 ounce
Freaking
beast.
monster, dude.
I will say, and I think Andrew's witnessed like 4 of them, but like I have tied my previous PB of 514 9 different times. So like the 6th through the 9th time, I was just losing my mind. Like I would get mad when the scale would say 514. So this is how we caught him. We were making a drift in the Great Lakes. Wind was churning. It was not nice out. It was like 4 footers, so it was rocking a little bit. We're doing the same thing, drop shotting a flatworm. My buddy Jeff Hippert was dragging his, keeping bottom contact, always moving. And I started experimenting because we couldn't get bit and we'd see fish on the graph. I started experimenting with when you either felt rock or shoal, or you see fish on the graph, I would open my bail and let that bait dead stick for like 10 seconds. And then I'd close and I'd start reeling in and it'd be there. And I started doing that more and more whenever I feel high percentage areas or see fish. And that was the ticket. And I felt bad for Jeff because he kept dragging with a tight line. And we started experimenting. As soon as he started giving his line slack when those fish were around, he started catching fish. And that was the deal. That was the craziest thing to me, was figuring out that.
Freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Dude, that is awesome, man. And congrats on blowing it out of the water. I mean, dude, going from a 514 to a 610, that's not just like, oh, I cracked 6.
Yeah.
Like, you cracked 6.
Here's the really funny part of the whole story behind it.
So great.
When I first put it on the scale, actually, it bounced right at 614 and my heart like dropped because I thought there was a chance it was going to go up. I was like, okay, I was like, skip 6, let's go right to 7. But no, like we were catching a bunch of them. They're like 3 or 4 pounders, like over and over again. And Jeff, I was showing him the new Abu Xenon reel, which is like their new $500 spinning reel. And I didn't realize how much line I had out for this fish. So when I set the hook in it, I'm like, oh, it's another 3-4 pounder. Like Jeff was asking about the reel. I'm like, just try it. Like, just feel what the drag feels like. He puts the rod in his hand and he goes, oh, this ain't that bad. Well, thing comes up and jumps like 50 yards out. And I'm like, give that rod back right now. Like, I'm fighting for it back. And we land it and we're laughing because like we were toying around with this fish. And Jeff's like, oh, it's like a 5.5 pounder. I'm like, this might be pushing 6, man. I don't know. And we put on the scale. I'm like, Jeff, it's a 610. And we just like kind of lost our minds. It was just funny because
so you don't have all the credit for landing.
No, Jeff has 5% of my PB. Jeff has 5%.
I don't want to say anything, but that is also what I'm picking up on.
I said it. I told him like that was a team fish. Like you have 5%, 10% of my PB.
Sounds like it's time to subtract
10%.
Yeah.
Like.
Let's do the math here.
What kills me though is you're actually have an ounce higher than my smallmouth personal best now. So with that 5% deduction, I still got you.
Well, Joe, all I'm going to say is if you would just sack up and just fish the fall, you'd be fine. You probably have it beat.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I'm not. I fish. Actually, I do fish in the.
You just
fall.
let Andy just womp on you in the streams.
Yeah, I know.
Well, let me just say this: if I would have fished all day, it could have been worse, but I would have felt really bad.
I don't know if I would have caught anything. You would have taken them all out of the creek. Like, it was unbelievable.
Well, I was telling Justin, your buddy that was with us, our buddy. I love Justin. He's funny as can be. I was like, polarized sunglasses make a world of difference.
Oh, he wore no glasses all day. I'm like, what are you doing?
Like.
That'd be like a strain on my eyes.
Like the creek we fished last, like you can make a pinpoint cast and drift it through there perfectly just by seeing the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, dude, as early as I can put on sunglasses in the morning, they go on. Like,
yeah, I that's where I love my Hobie Sightmaster Pluses because they go on like right at first light, so I can still see.
Yeah,
shameless plug.
Yeah,
shameless plug. I mean, dude, I think just the best glasses in the game. Whatever anybody decides are right for them. When you figure out a good lens combination, even if it means wearing 2 different pairs in a day.
Andy's just womping on his guide clients, taking all their fish.
Andy, we get why he got into guiding. It's to just beat everyone.
And he gets 2 stars because he just takes everyone's.
Yeah,
fish.
I know.
We
Right?
actually
Should've
didn't
left him
catch any,
such a
but
good
Andy
review on
got
Yelp.
the crap out of him.
So, advisory warning: if you say you want me to fish with you,
You asked for
Get
it.
ready to get your
I
feelings
just
hurt.
experiment until I figure out what's going. And I always offer. I'm like, here, you want to throw this, and I'll pick up something else and just keep cracking up. Like
Weird. Andy keeps catching him.
He gives me a different rod, but then
No,
he keeps catching him.
dude, it's so much more intricate than the fishing that we do for bass. It's insane. Like, and his knowledge is A1. It's incredible. I can't speak highly enough of what that guy does, guys. He's insane.
Yeah, and Andy, I will say I have to apologize to Justin because he sent me a message on Facebook at like 4 p.m. on Saturday evening and asked if I wanted to go steelhead fishing. And I was like, I might take you up on that. I'll let you know after dinner. And after dinner, I forget about it. And Jeff texts me to go out on Erie on Sunday. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's do it. And I completely forgot until I'm driving home on Sunday after that day that I'm like, oh, my God, I never got back to Justin. And I was like, I'm sorry for not getting back to you, but I promise it was worth it.
Yeah, he ended up getting a guide trip on the stream Saturday, so it worked out.
Oh, cool. Good for Justin.
Yeah.
But all right, let's actually dive into some late fall fishing here. And I think the one that I'm most intrigued by, because Joe's a slacker and doesn't fish in the fall for bass. We'll get to your fishing a little bit, Joe. I'm most intrigued about what goes on out by your area, Adam, this time of year. Like, what do your water temps usually look like? What's the fishing like? Is it better, kind of like us, where things turn on in the fall? Or does it get tough, like some people say it does in the south?
Dude, I mean, so first off, I'll say this. So I really am normally done, or not done, I guess. We've actually been having a lot more tournaments in these last 2 years to fish later into the fall. But I'm a tournament dude. Like, I'm fishing a lot of the time. I'm fishing to fish tournaments. And anyways, what our fish really end up doing is they get deep. A lot of them get deep right now. Like, it's good. Like, November can be a really good month, and you can catch fish on top. You can still kind of catch fish on top. And then you kind of are working into cranking and reaction style baits. And then as we get into this late fall winter pattern, it's a lot of, deep blade baits, dropping on them, drop shot. Like, they get deep, man. They just go sit in holes, and they'll be kind of all at the same depth. At least the smallmouth and the spotted bass is what I'm talking about. But that's kind of what I've seen over the last couple of years. Again, normally I was hunting all this time of the year, but these last couple of years there's been more and more tournaments going into our late fall, and that's how they're won, is normally deep.
So, like, you mentioned like a top water and drop shot, but like, what does your front deck usually look like this time of year?
This late in the year, it's all deep stuff. Early November is kind of what I was referring to. 30, like this local lake right here, Horsetooth, like they were all in. So Turner went and fished on Saturday with his blown motor. So he's fished right close to the ramp. Anyways, he was catching them all out of 35 to 45, which is that's pretty standard. I mean, it's an inland reservoir, and they'll you can catch them deeper than that, and catch them shallower than that. You can catch them on an A rig in 20 or something. But that seemed to be where the majority of the population was, sitting in those holes, man. Anywhere where there was a gut or some sort of a basin that was a hole.
Yeah. So, like, when do you usually, out in Colorado, when do you guys usually ice up?
Man, it is always a gamble. Dude, we have such weird weather patterns here these last couple of years, but normally we're not icing up until, I want to say, you're looking at late December, January timeframe. And then like safe ice, like if you're going to go ice fishing in the mountains and stuff, you'll be on the ice in January. You'll be on the ice probably late December here. But as far as like February, maybe sometimes on like closer to these Front Range lakes. And dude, sometimes there's like Pueblo, which is a little bit south of us, like that has to be a hard year to freeze. Like it'll be, you'll have ice in the mornings and stuff, like that skim ice and that kind of a thing. But like there's been times where guys can go out there in January, but normally, like I would say you're kind of iced up in that January timeframe.
I'd say we're pretty similar.
Really?
Here, I mean, But I will say, yeah. So like last year, Andy and I we were catching smallmouth in early January, still like on open water. We didn't really get ice, I would say, until like late January, really. But I'll say it's end of November, and I had to break ice to get out to go fish on Saturday.
Yeah, that's
So I think if we keep on par with what we're going, I mean, granted, we've had some days that are like low to mid 40s, which is hard when you're in that building for that ice stage. But like, I mean,
sure.
Andy, do you think this might be an earlier ice year, or do you think we're kind of on par to last year? And Joe, feel free to butt in too, because I know you're always up this way, obviously.
I'm thinking. It's weird because we have like 3 different climate zones right here in Western New York, right? Like where we're at in Buffalo, we tend to stay warmer, so it takes longer for the ice to develop. But when you start getting down into the southern tier, it gets cooler quicker. So like areas, we'll throw a lake out there that a lot of people probably won't know, and it's ice fishing lake, Loon Lake, right down in Steuben County. That one is always traditionally the first lake to freeze. And I look at it as when that lake has ice, everything else is 3 weeks behind. So 3 weeks later, every other lake in the area will probably have ice. Because that's like down in a valley in the mountains. The earliest I have ever been on ice on a lake fishing is like a week and a half after Thanksgiving. So the first and like December 10th, I've been on ice on a Lake Ontario harbor. That was probably 7 years ago. But on average, it's probably right around Christmas is when it starts getting good.
100%. I've never walked on the ice really before Christmas since I was a little kid. Like it's been quite a while since we've had safe ice since, pre-Christmas. But I mean, I remember a lot of, like, I'm 35. I remember a good many Christmases, 30 and 35, 25 and 30 years ago, where we were ice skating on Christmas. So it's like, but now never would I be able, like, it's not like a fear of ice. It's just never would I be able to get on the ice before Christmas.
Right.
What I've actually started to notice too is like sometimes we don't build as much ice as we used to either. I want to say, what was it, 2 or 3 winters ago? I might have only ice fished for 3 weeks. Am I losing my mind? Do you guys remember that? Was it 2 or 3 winters ago? It was like a short season because we had like a warm February, and then it was a little cold again in March or something. But
was that the year talking about Oneida? Like people kept falling through in like January.
That happens all the time, though.
Yeah, but like that winter was like uncharacteristic. I can't even talk. It was just really warm that winter.
Yeah, it was uncharacteristically warm.
That's what I was trying to get to, but it didn't want to come out. So
yeah,
I struggle sometimes with big words when my voice.
I think it's kind of funny that the 3 of us all come from like very similar climates. I mean, obviously you two up top have been close for a while, but like the fact that we're in, like, dude, I live 4 hours from you guys, and Deacon lives 14 hours from us?
Buddy, no, we're talking
it's probably like 21, 22.
Yeah, like at least.
Sorry. It's far, I get it.
It's far. Cool. Yeah.
Stay over there, bud.
That's really insane though that we all see similar water temps. Like
it is, dude. And you guys have way bigger fish, but like also too, we have a lot drier climate, right? Like as far as like humidity or like, and you guys right, like around Buffalo, don't you guys get like the most snowfall like out of freaking everywhere? Because
we get both lake effects though.
Yeah, isn't that that's what I've heard is comes off the lake or something?
Yeah,
it's like
so
some inches a year.
In general relativity of snowfall, Buffalo averages about 100 inches a year. Where Oneida Lake is just north of there, they average about 160 to 180 inches a year on the Tug Hill Plateau.
Oh my gosh.
If you go up to Watertown, which you passed through when you went to the St. Lawrence Open, they average about 180, 190. So they double what we get in Buffalo.
That's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, that east end of Lake Ontario gets a bananas
Because Lake Ontario never freezes. It's always open, and there's always a west wind.
Always.
Just rips.
Yeah.
Dude, like there is more snowmobile trails there than you can shake a stick at. Like people come 21 hours to go snowmobiling. Like it's crazy. Like, no, they do though. Like, no joke. Like there are more ice fishing hutches sold at like dealerships and all kinds of places. Like my one buddy owns a shop that is a phenomenal place to buy Japanese fishing tackle on Oneida. He's like, dude, I don't even know why I sell this stuff. He's like, I make way more money from people traveling from all over the country to fish here in the winter. He's like, just from selling shanties and all kinds of stuff. Like, dude, Lakeside Tackle's the coolest shop. Great stuff. None of that stuff he can really can even sell. He's like, everyone goes there to go ice fishing. I'm like, that blows my mind. Like, blows my mind.
Yeah.
But, Lakeside is legit.
Dude,
our buddies over there.
Yeah.
Crazy story driving on 81 North to Pulaski, steelhead fishing in like February a couple years ago. I leave Buffalo. It's like 38 degrees, like clear skies. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a breeze. 2 hours, 2.25 we'll be there because I'm doing 90 down to 90. So I round 81 North and head northbound, and I'm like about a mile behind a semi. No lake effect warnings, nothing on the radar. But all of a sudden, I can feel my truck starting to move from a west wind. I'm like, Frank, pull up the radar because we're about to hit some snow. I just have this funny feeling because it like got darker.
Weatherman Andy coming in.
Literally, as I said that, the semi in front of me that's about a mile away disappears.
Yeah.
Just gone. I can't see it. The next time I see it, I'm 3 feet from it. I almost rear end it because it was snowing so hard. They got 3 feet of snow in 4 hours.
And that's
the ice king.
Yeah.
But that's not uncommon either. Like, it's why we don't check the weather in the summer up there either. What's the point? It's never what they say it's going to be. I mean, Bailey, you were up there for that derby. It was what it was supposed to be, and I'll tell you this, it wasn't the weather it was supposed to be for the entire month leading up to that St. Lawrence Open. You don't check the weather that far. Like, that side is bananas.
The rule of thumb is like 2 days.
This comment is so damn true about Andy Kosmich. Says that Andy can smell a west wind at 15 miles per hour 3 days in advance. And I swear to God, Andy will be just sitting on the water, just lick his finger and feel the air, and he'll tell you the next forecast for 8 hours. No cloud's going to be where in the sky.
I'm usually pretty close, I would say. Usually.
Do you guys know Kyle?
Yeah, Kyle actually came and fished with me in April for his birthday. Kyle's a good dude. Yeah. I think we caught like 120 fish.
Like the cutest kid in the world. I love when he brings his kid on like BFL stage and stuff. Like super nice guy.
Yeah, I love Kyle. Great people.
Yep.
Andy, I think I remember every in our group chat like last year, gearing up for lead events and talking about fantasy fishing and everything. Like every event we'd be getting to, he'd be like, "Oh well, like guys, did you see the forecast? Like here we go. Like, hold up, you see the storm they're getting? Like they're gonna
Bigwig's gonna flood."
Dude, Andy knows like every in and out of lakes that are like across the country. I'm like, where did you take the time to learn this? Because you've never fished out of New York State. Dude, and it's the weirdest thing. Andy's like, especially with our fantasy fishing, we're like a newscast. Where like Andy's our weatherman. He gives like everything that's gonna come out.
No
of
longer captain, the weatherman. Like some of like nicknames like Andrew the weatherman.
Mr. Burgundy.
Yes, Andy Burgundy.
I just need a glass of scotch and we're ready to go. And a red velvet suit. Yeah. Like sign me up.
and I think we're gonna go yogging.
Yogging, yes.
I think it's a soft J.
Oh man,
soft J.
Well, Andy, when you, because I know you fish.
Glass case of emotion. Baxter.
This has gotten very off topic, and I fucking
Yeah,
love it.
very. All I know is I can't wait to go back and pause this stream for Joe's face during that. And
Yeah, right.
That'll be meme worthy.
Literally.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
so
yeah, so it
funny.
was just
'Cause
like
one of
he
my
falling
friends
asleep
sent
the
me
other night.
photos she
Oh, God.
took. My eyes are closed. I was like, "Thanks, Andrea." Like,
Oh,
That's why I
man.
said. That's why I take 45.
So Andy, getting back to fall fishing here, because I know obviously this year for guiding for you, and I know you steelhead fish a lot, like in previous years, but like you're very heavy this year because you're guiding for it. But I know in recent years you've spent a lot of time on the boat throughout the winter as long as there's open water.
Mm-hmm.
So you're very familiar with temperature drops and all that kind of jazz, especially apparently being that your new proclaimed name as the weatherman. But like when you see these temperatures come out of the transition and really starting to drop, what is like your biggest adjustment you make, like when fish start to move and get into that fall pattern?
Go shallow as possible. First move, I want to go shallow because those fish are coming up to feed.
Okay.
So on the Great Lakes, especially, like there's this big missed opportunity to catch shallow fish, and they're only there for a short period of time before they go back up, before they slide back out deep. So like prime temperature range, like first drop is 62 to about 50, and then once it gets below 50, it starts getting a little harder, and they start sliding back out to deep. But I mean, you saw it. What was it, 2 weeks ago? We went on the river, and it was just insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And the water temp wasn't even that cold. I think it was 58.
Yeah.
And we could catch them on whatever in
Right.
6 to 8 foot of water.
So like when those temperatures, like now, especially late fall, and they get into like that mid 40 range, when things start really getting cold. I mean, I feel like at that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but fish aren't really moving as much as they're more kind of getting closer knit together. So people might
Correct.
think they move, but really they're just kind of getting into a smaller space,
Yep.
less spread out on a larger area, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
it's because all the bait's doing that.
Right. Yeah, that's because bait's kind of getting more central located too. So like what from there, I mean, are you just say like you find them in one area the one day, you go to that next area, the next day, they're not there. I mean, what adjustments are you making? Are you just getting on the graphs and going looking until you find them, or what adjustment do you make?
So if I'm catching them shallow, let's call it a flat. I'm going to look for the tightest bunch contour lines closest to that flat I possibly can and go there first. And I'm going to start in the shallow side of it and work my way out till I find them in that area. Because usually, like pre-spawn, when it comes to pre-spawn, they do the same thing as they're moving out of the wintering holes. They'll come to these tight bunch contour lines that come up into a spawning flat. In the fall, it's the exact opposite. They use the same runways to go back out to the wintering hole. So it's just reading maps, understanding wind and current, where those fish are going to move to, and you can catch them just as well. You just have to find them, spend some time graphing. The triangle theory, BP.
Yeah. So Deacon, kind of the same question for out in your area. Like when you see those temperatures really start to tank, I mean, when you have your fish, you're on them, but you see that these temperatures are changing. What movements are you making with your lakes?
When it starts dropping hard,
Yeah.
like, dude, honestly, it has been such a weird year. Like these fish seemed like they stayed in the summer cycle and are still there. Like they're just there. Like as far as if I see temps dropping quick like that, I'm probably going to start going shallow too. Like I'm not going to go super shallow, but like they seem to kind of pull up, and it's all bait oriented. That's the biggest advice that I have for fall fishing is that like they are going to go where the bait fish are. And if there's shad in the back of pockets because something's going on or there's a die off going on in this pocket and not that one, like that's where the fish are going to be. And so I probably am not experienced enough in the fall to sit here and say when there's a super big drop, that's what I'm going to do. I live by a couple of things in the fall, and that's find the bait. And that is not everywhere on the lake has them. It's weird. Like parts of the lake are dead. And then there's parts where they are so grouped up, it's not even funny. And you're like, oh my gosh. And it's not just like, sometimes it's more than just the bass. You're just like, everything is alive in this pocket. Like
or
in this
10-yard stretch of weeds.
Yeah. Like, and that's my mindset in the fall. but I don't do it enough to be super advanced in it. That's just what I'm looking for.
Heck yeah. Joe, you got anything to add on top of that?
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is to keep her on the trailer and put on the waders. Like, it's time to go catch the slimers.
Waders and then an ice
So
pack
close.
after fishing with Andy.
Yeah, I need to ice pack my well, where he gave me a good clean kicking,
That's good.
No, I mean, like, there are several, and this has only been like a 4 or 5 year thing that I've been doing. Like, there are several years where I hit Oneida very hard in the fall. I hit Cayuga very hard in the fall. And like, what I think is always really the coolest is both of those lakes have a lot of creeks or rivers that feed or outflow them. Okay. So they're both very different. Like, Oneida has a major inflow and a major outflow, and Cayuga has a lot of those smaller, like, feeder creeks, right? And what you really start to notice, because the trout do this too, is if you follow the bait, you will find those fish. And so many of the different bait forages in both of those bodies of water, and they're very different in both of those bodies of water, even though they're only like 40 miles apart. Once you find them, you can have the day of your life on spot lock. We didn't have spot lock back then on the old Fortrex, but you can have the absolute day of your life, and they're not stupid deep, and they're not usually like stupid shallow. Like, you can't catch them in the dirt, but like in that 4 to like 10 foot range, like, there are days that you can have that, like, if you're trying to impress a lady out on the water, you can take her out and she'll think that's what you do for a living all the time. It's super easy, like cast after cast. So, I mean, I've had those days. It's just like not been my thing for like 4 or 5 years now.
Right.
Oneida's, I think, is the coolest because it's so neat how, like, all of a sudden, like a light switch, boom, there are no fish that can be caught in the lake. It is wild. Like, they just go east and west out to the rivers, and you can go, and then you can catch 27 pounds of smallmouth in those rivers on spot lock, and it'll be like that until they are post spawn again. Like, it is not uncommon. I mean, there are 6 months out of the year where there's 27.5 pounds of smallies in the East End and West End River. Like, they spend more time, as much or more, probably more time in those rivers than they do in the lake. Wow. It's crazy.
Wow.
Probably just made some locals really mad.
It's fun. What'd you say?
So we probably just made some locals really mad.
No, I mean, dude, it's common knowledge. Like, I mean, it took me like a year or two to like figure that out. Like, it took me like a year, but like all the tournaments go out of like the Manor on the East End, or they go out of the, oh man, what's that, like, brickyard that I launch out of in the river, and when they're spawning. Like, dude, I would say out of the last 5 years, the cash in, like, weigh and release tournament that they have in May is not run. It's not one on the lake. Like, it took me a little while to figure that out. I had to bomb first to, like, before somebody told me. They were like, hey, dude, you didn't even know that? And, like, I remember I crossed the lake to, like, go to this little pocket one year in May, and it was like 5 footers on the lake. And I just ran trough dead to the other side, got in this pocket where I thought I could catch 25 pounds of largemouth. And, like, you know, I didn't catch that, but we, like, came in, brought our numbers in after 4.5 hours, and they were going to take us out of the bracket after that. And I said to somebody, I'm like, how did those guys catch 27.5 pounds of smallies? They're like, they were the first one to that spot on the river. I was like, you guys are fishing in the river? Like,
no
yeah,
shit.
I don't know. I didn't realize.
Another meme-worthy face from Joe tonight.
Dude, I'm a ball of expressionism. Like, we should hang out more, Bailey.
I second that.
Oh Oh gosh. Anything else that maybe we should add for the late fall? Because like I feel like relatively the late fall, early winter can be tough as nails, but I think and how to catch them or find them is pretty straightforward. It's really just a lot of searching until you find them, and typically when you find them, you're on them for the rest of the day.
Yep.
Any disagreements?
Move fast with slow way down when you get in the early winter.
Mm-hmm. So like move fast in terms of covering water, but slow down in terms of presentation.
Correct.
Okay,
I'd agree with that.
Is it like a drop shot slow for a lot of you guys, or are you like bottom contact slow? Yeah.
Are you in a kayak or an A-rig?
Or a football jig. I really like a football jig.
That's
in
what
like
I was
the
kind of hoping
mid-40s.
you'd say. Sorry,
See,
I forgot you're actually on this side.
I will say I don't have good success with a football jig. I don't
Not
know
even
why.
a queen tackle one with no lead guard.
I'll say on the Great Lakes, I use it, and I like, but it's more of a finesse football jig.
I struggle. I mean, I understand like bass, like crawfish, right? Like they're opportunistic, but like, dude, I am with you, Bailey. I struggle throwing a jig in the fall. Like I am gonna be it may be dragging a kayak, like literally like a crawfish on the bottom, but like that is how I catch them, and I don't know why, but I've tried throwing a football jig very slowly in the fall.
Oh, when I say football jig, I mean one of those
little spider
itty-bitty
jigs.
kayak one. Yeah, exactly. Like if the water is 50 to 55, you can get away with a bigger one, but once it dips below that,
it's an old little guy.
Fighter has a really good video. Just throwing that out there. I don't know who he did it for.
Probably
He did
wired
like a
to fish.
fall baits things. Was it Omnia?
We're probably wired to fish.
It might have been. Yeah, I bet it is wired to fish actually.
his top
Wired to
5
fish
fall
or
baits.
Omnia. But he talks about the football jig a lot.
Yeah, and I know people wreak havoc on it, and I think, if I'm being quite frank, I don't throw it a lot. I think it's more just because that A-rig and that swim bait bite is so addicting that it's hard to get away from. But I also think in terms of like big fish and numbers of fish, you're not going to beat that pattern. I think I'd rather take chances at giants and numbers throwing that versus dragging a jig for another chance, like the same chance at the giant that could catch with a swim bait or an A-rig.
Well, here's the deal.
Do we know anybody that throws these in the winter?
Is that a
Yes.
Yeah.
Kurt Hofig has been throwing glides.
That's the swim bait underground depths. But yeah, who does? Sorry, I stopped listening.
Kurt Hofig.
He's been throwing it in New York. Throwing it right now and catching them pretty good. Smallmouth too.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'd love. I gotta follow him.
Joe, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I highly encourage it because you might want to get a guy trip with that guy. Not to take you away from Andy and all your guys' fun of Andy beating up on
Andy's
you,
like, all right.
He's like, fun. We'll take Andy out for a second so he can't hear us.
No, but Joe's got everything he needs from me, so like, he's probably not going to come back. If he does, we're going to go fun fishing. So
yeah.
But like that episode, Kurt was talking about big salmon on topwater. That sounded insane. Like in the winter.
In like 35-degree water temps.
No way.
Yeah. Like we're doing that. He said he has proof.
He won't go trout fishing with you, Andrew, but he's like salmon on topwater.
Atlantic salmon fishing. I'm in. If I'm gonna catch a big old slimer on a bone-colored spook or something, sign me up. Like that sounds like fun.
Dude, Oliver would follow me to the gates of hell if I told him we could go do that somewhere. Big Bass Dreams would be there with like 55-person crew, everybody with their flap rims on. They'd all be filming like, he'd be
You should legitimately contact Kurt because I think he'd be all in. He just started, like Andy, guiding on the Finger Lakes this year. He'd be all in on that, dude. Yeah. That'd help his guide business tremendously.
Sure.
We'd all show up there. Like, I mean, Oliver hit me up the other day. He's like, dude, we got to film or not film, but we got to plan like a family vacation to like catch some salmonoid species. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm down. Like, come on, buddy. Like, let's go. But he's like, but I want to catch them on hard baits. I'm like,
I think this is just easy math here that our
I know when to do it.
Stars are aligning.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
You guys go out there. I'll follow along in the Hobie. I'll be there eventually.
Yeah, right. Dude, my buddy sent me a video of him paddling his Hobie. I assume yours has like the 360 steering thing.
Yeah.
So he told me his Hobie had 360, and then he sent me a picture of his graph. So I'm like, why don't you have the 360 screen? He's like, oh yeah, no, not that kind of 360.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this existed.
I have 720.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a dumb dad joke, but let's.
I got it though. At least I knew that one now.
Let's start wrapping it up here, as we've been going for a while. But I think one thing to be mentioned before we get into this last segment of tonight's show is that we are off for the rest of this week after tonight. We're gonna let things ride, enjoy the week for Thanksgiving with family and such. Go fishing, all that jazz. But
you guys will still be pretty active on Instagram, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll be on social and all that jazz. But there's not going to be any more shows this week. We'll pick back up next week.
Video Sunday.
When's
Video Sunday? Sorry, we have a video Sunday evening that Deacon's going to put out. But we have
nice. What
Monday
are we doing,
Night Live next week. Who we have Mr. Josh Bertrand coming on. So that'll be a good one. And
that's just me and Deke, right?
That's you and Deacon, and I might try to tune in from the Sabres game that I'm going to.
Oh, wow.
Which will be interesting.
Dive into the comments and really heckle them with me.
Yeah, I may have to do that. I can be on the other end of a podcast for once. Either way, that should be a lot of fun. But I think to wrap it up tonight, let's go around the room and do what you're thankful for off the water and on the water from this past year. And Deacon, if you want to kick us off, my friend.
Oh boy. All right.
Pressure's on.
Thankful for. We got Thanksgiving. So I'll start with the off the water, man. This year, I would say the biggest thing has been probably relationships through the fishing industry with guys like you guys. Building stuff is a blast. I mean, with Joe, and then Andy and Bailey's been a longer time, but like, man, I love how much this industry creates kind of friendships and stuff, and it makes it fun. So that's probably what I'm most thankful for in 2021 is the relationships from the fishing world. Off the water. On the water, man, it was a blast to fish the first year of the Toyota Series in the Centrals. I was thankful to be able to do that and kind of went the independent contractor route work-wise so that I could have more time to do that. And it also has given me a lot more time to focus on even team tournament, local stuff here. I've noticed, higher level of success and all that, and Angler of the Year and all that, just because having some of that pressure off time-wise. So it's been fun.
Yeah, man. I will say, your point of making connections and such. I will say you're damn good at it because we met for the first time in person at the Classic. Introduced you to some folk. We walked around and saw some booths, and you're very good at connecting with new people. So obviously that's why we have you here on the show, because we've all connected. And I will say for the folks, Adam is very good and he's very business savvy. So it's been very nice to have Adam aboard because he's helping us out, take this podcast to a new legitimate level. So that means big stuff in store for 2022. And these two here here are a huge part in that. So thank you both.
Thanks for the kind words, man.
Yeah, of course. And I'll
Hold on,
go
let
next.
me just say, I got to interrupt that because I'll forget. Dude, you just said the guy who runs the Business from the Bass Boat podcast is very business savvy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just adding more respect to
2
the
and 2,
name.
Dojo. Come on, 2 and 2.
It's respect to the name, man. All right, we got to reinforce it.
Okay, all right. So that's what you were doing. I got it. My bad. Maybe I was slow to catch on.
But I will go next because we're gonna make Andy and Joe go last.
Nice.
We'll make Joe go last.
We'll make Joe go last.
Save the best for last.
Yes, the best for exactly.
You said it.
Yeah. I think off the water, it's been an insane year. I think it's been the year of the most growth or most advancements in my entire life. Have my first place to myself with my fiance, who's probably listening, annoyed out there on the couch somewhere. And then I got my first legitimately full-time job working in the fishing industry, which has been absolutely awesome so far. And then, like Deacon mentioned, making our podcast merge together and trying to grow this platform. And we have such amazing viewers and fans that tune in on the daily, like Joe, yourself, which is actually how we met. So I'm appreciative of that as well.
No, that's not. Well, kind of. It was more like the boomer thing.
Both. They intertwine.
Yeah.
But and then for On the Water, it's been a wild one for that as well. Started the year off with while local had 3 wins in a row, which was a nice way to lead into the year. Fished the first ever Bass Kayak Classic, which was fun. Working the classic, it was a good time, and then broke 2 PBs in a year within the last 3 weeks. Really, not really the year, but the past 3 weeks has been kind of hectic. With a 7.2 largemouth, and then obviously finally breaking the smallmouth PB, the 6.10.
Got the hot
Welcome
hand.
to the 6 pound club, bud.
Yeah, about damn time. Lived in New York for 24 years and just now finally hit 6.
All it took you was for you to move to Erie and to be here during the fall.
Yeah, I gotta live in Buffalo, I guess. But yeah, no, it's been an insanely good year, and credit to a lot of people. So one of those guys that's a huge part of that is next, Andy Full.
Oh, thanks, buddy. No, it's been awesome. I'm so pumped that you live in Buffalo. So first of all, that is one of the things that I'm thankful for. Second, this is our episode 154 together since you invited me on to be a part of the Serious Angler channel. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity and you bringing on this big bearded dummy who just absolutely loves
Slays
bass fishing and
154
in general. Yeah, way too many. No, it's been a hell of a ride here with you so far, and now we got Adam on. So the sky's the limit for us, and I really look forward to the next 154 and hope we continue to have tremendous growth. And I'm extremely thankful for that. Second thing I am thankful for is my beautiful and wonderful wife for letting me quit my desk job and to pursue full-time captaincy and guide life, which is probably like the most difficult thing ever because I stress out about trips on like a daily basis.
Yeah, you do.
Besides that, like my other saying is delivering vaccines and pharmaceuticals to nursing homes and killing grannies one day at a time. But yeah.
Let's hope your boss isn't around.
I feel terrible about it.
Oh my goodness!
One day at a time, we're working through.
Hold on, we're just gonna
Get him out of here.
I work in PR. That's a bad look for us.
Yeah,
it's really just a joke. Like we're really making the world a better place. So on the side, I deliver pharmaceuticals and vaccines to nursing homes.
We know.
It's just a joke. No, literally, but that's what I do on the side. But most importantly, my wife for allowing me to take the step, and my family being extremely supportive, and all my friends. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Heck yeah, Adam. He made us look bad because he thanked his wife.
I messed up there. Got all messed up.
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be in the position that I am
without
so
much for letting me take all this time to screw around with my friends online.
Yeah, so sorry about the nursing home joke because I feel really bad about that now. But
it was fun. We don't care.
He always feels bad about the wrong thing.
I know, dude. He had like 3 hours of sleep in 3 days. And like our recent episode, I caught him like falling asleep in his chair for a second, and I teased him afterwards, and he was apologizing. I was like, dude, no, that was the funniest thing ever.
Like, I was just sitting here like tuned in, and I'm just like. It was like good. 3 or 4 times. It was brutal, but I still stayed in June enough
that cough was brutal.
To ask questions. Yeah, then I went to the Bills game yesterday for no reason and lost my voice. So
yeah. I think everyone who's listening hopefully didn't have headphones on high volume.
Yeah,
hacked into the
your mic is on
right
the
there. I'm
same
so
side.
sorry.
You just coughed into it. You were just like right into the microphone. Like, Here,
There he goes. Look at him now.
I got it that time.
Ready?
My bad.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
That is good.
All right. Best for last. Joe Labarbera. Let's hear
Well,
it.
first off, I gotta thank my mama.
Yeah, he
no,
made us
really,
all look bad now.
Now you, yeah,
Oh,
really, really looking bad now.
But no. Like honestly, that's that. My mom is my number one supporter. By far, always has been. Like, if my mom wouldn't have co-signed on my house, I wouldn't have been able to buy it. Like financially, she doesn't help me, but I couldn't. The bank wouldn't have given me the loan. Like I can afford to pay for it, but like they just, the way those loans work, you have to have a certain income to buy a certain thing. And my mom's never helped me. The only thing she's ever co-signed on were my student loans, and I never thought she'd say yes. So I got as prepared as possible, like with all the materials I needed. And I still thought she'd shoot me down, but at least I could feel like I did everything I could, because I knew financially I had a breakdown to afford this place. And she went, okay. And I went, what? There's another expression for you. But so I'm very, very thankful. Yeah, exactly. I'm very, very thankful to have her in my life. She lives 3 blocks away from me. We work about 150 yards apart. Like we have lunch together a lot. Yeah, death meds. He's not even
paying
seeing
attention.
it. Like, just leave it up there. Just leave it up there. Yeah,
So
I mean,
good.
so we get to have lunch and stuff. My relationship with my mother is awesome. Like, she's encouraging me to continue to grow some of my relationships that are very fruitful. She's very business savvy. She's an attorney. So I've had a lot of questions for her recently as I'm prepping for next year, and some very big business changes that are probably happening with the
Oh wow.
company right here.
Uh-oh.
And my mom has done a ton of research, and it very much is on board, and she's like very hesitant about me thinking about considering a different career path. She likes that I have a career and that I have a fishing business, and she's rethinking that, and just the fact that she's that supportive is huge.
Heck yeah.
So
Go
like
mom.
that's the off the water stuff, mom and house. On the water, to be honest, like I'm just very thankful that I've built a platform and a business that I no longer feel like I have to prove myself. I had a few hard years where put a lot of pressure on myself. And I didn't fish as well. And now, because of the role I play with Alpha Angler Rods and with so many of my other companies that have partnered with me, dude, I'm able to just go out there and have a good time. I can fall off the dock and still recover. And that's something
Word of the wise, bring 2 sets of clothes.
right.
Everybody.
But like in the past, dude, I wouldn't have been able to recover from something like that. Because I used to place so much value in what I thought it looked like wherever I finished. And like, dude, now honestly, like there are days where I'd rather come in with 0 than come in with 5 for 5 pounds. Like, I'm not going to audible. I make choices that I'm very happy with, but like, I'm not going to audible to something to like save face. Like, I don't have to save face anymore. I don't feel like I have anything to prove finishes wise. Now it's just like, just keep plugging away and see where the cards fall. So I'm really thankful I was able to come to an attitude and a place in my life where I'm just going to go out there and swing, because like Deacon said earlier, winning is everything. And that is the only thing I really care about right now. Like, I don't care if I finish 100th. I would have rather finished last, like, but trying to win. Because top 10s right now are what gets you to the Elite Series. Like Jonathan Kelly, Ike Anelli, and Red Wine average 17th. So you have to try to get in the top 10 every time.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'd rather finish 100th trying to get in the top 10 than or I'd rather finish 225th trying to get in the top 10 than finish 100th. Like I have zero, I don't care to save face anymore and finish 100th. That doesn't mean anything to me. And that would have made me cry for 8 hours driving home in years past. So that's big. It's big.
Yeah.
I got a lot of great things in life, and I've grown a huge circle. Like you three, I feel like I could talk to one of you three, probably probably close to 20. I would say 3 people, total of 5 phone calls a week. Like it's pretty much come to that, and I mean that's
true.
amazing. I don't know. I have a giant conglomerate of like-minded dummies around me, and you guys are now part of that like-mindedness. We all have issues, and it's the same issues, and like
We're all screwed.
well, I mean, not to be like super lame, but like I don't know, the friends I have now as an adult blow the friends away I had in high school. Like these relationships I have now are what I always wanted as a kid. And I don't know, like I was too busy playing sports, like, and you weren't cool if you weren't like doing good that week, like at sports. So I mean, nobody cares how I perform right here. You guys are there for me no matter what. And that's solid. Like what more could you ask for? Man, I've got it all. I think we all 3 of us could easily say I've got it all, you know.
Mhm.
Like,
Sorry, Joe. If you don't make the Elite Series next year, it's just see ya. Sorry. I'm just kidding. We're gonna act like we never knew you.
Yeah. Who's this guy?
Who's this jabroni?
Exactly right.
No, well done, dude. And I think we're all good. And I challenge everyone this time of year, and I say this also because some good friends that I've made through work out in Wisconsin. I don't know if you guys have seen the whole parade deal that guy drove it into the parade.
40 people got hurt.
I didn't see this.
Yeah, that was out in Wisconsin, literally like 10 minutes away from the headquarters of my company that I work at. And some people that I was friends with were there. And so I challenge people this time of year. I mean, those things kind of make you reevaluate your priorities in life and, you know, think about what actually matters. So it's a great time of year to do that. Obviously, you know, thoughts go out to those in Wisconsin, but it's a great time to remember what you're thankful for. So I think that was good to do tonight. And thank you guys for participating.
And you guys, you 3, like, I wish your families the best over the holiday for sure.
Same to all you boys.
You too, man. Yeah, everybody.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably our perfect segue to sign off here tonight. Before we get too sappy on this show. Yeah, we got Joe crying over here. I think it's about time we
that's
sign
a
off
good time.
But either way, I challenge those who are listening to you know, think about what you're thankful for, and you know, if you're watching on YouTube, comment down below what you're thankful for. We'd love to hear your guys' story. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, as always, we ask that you leave a rating and review. But other than that, folks, we'll see you next Monday. Thank you, guys.